Today I'm continuing with my Thanksgiving cooking series. Instead of roasting one large turkey, today we're roasting two smaller turkeys. Together in the oven, they'll roast in half the time of a large turkey, plus they'll be easier to carve, and we get 4 of everything. And roasting two smaller turkeys is a great way for beginners to start. Well, it's 37 degrees here in the Texas Hill Country, and the wind is blowing and it's really chilly for what we're normally used to, but it's the perfect day to roast turkeys. Well, let's go over all the ingredients that I'll be using to roast these turkeys. Well, I've got 2 turkeys here that are each about 12 pounds, and I've removed all their wrapping and removed all the giblets from the cavity. And now remember, when you remove the wrapping, don't wash your turkey off in the sink because it just spreads a lot of germs around. Just remove the wrapping, pat it dry, and put it on whatever plate, or I have them here on a roasting pan just to get them ready to be prepared to put in your roasting pan. Now I'm going to show you, I'm just going to move these to the side, and I'm going to show you what I've got here. These are the giblets and the neck that I've removed. So I've got the 2 necks, I've got the 2 little back sides that I cut off from the turkeys, I've got the liver here, 2 hearts, and 2 gizzards. Now the liver I'm going to reserve, and I'm going to cook this separately, make like a nice little liver pate, and the back sides and the necks I'm going to use to make some bone broth to make the gravy, and we'll do that in another video. And then I'm going to save the hearts and the gizzards to cook up and chop up and add to the stuffing, which I'll also make in another video. And then next, I've got just some aromatics cut up here. I've got the onions with the skin on. I've got some carrots also with the skins on, and about 2 stalks of celery, including the leaves from the top. And I'm going to be making a bone broth with the turkey bones, and so I'm just going to put these in the bottom of the roasting pan for flavor, and then all of this will go into the pot when I get ready to make the turkey bone broth. And then I've got some melted butter. Here, this is 1 stick of melted butter, and I'm going to use a pastry brush to brush this over both of the turkeys. And then I've got my turkey seasoning, and I'm going to bring you in a little closer so that you can really see what this is, and I'll explain that in detail. Now you can use any seasoning blend you like, but what I've got here is Herbes de Provence, and you can make your own homemade version of that, which I'll show in another video. And I've got a 1/2 cup of Herbes de Provence, I've got a 1/2 cup of coarse ground sea salt. If you use fine ground salt, just use a 1/4 cup. Then I've got about a 1/4 cup of freshly ground black pepper, and about a tablespoon of red pepper flakes. You can certainly leave out the red pepper flakes if you don't want to have any bit of that spice. But that's exactly what that is. And this is just a lovely Herbes de Provence that gives a nice seasoning, but you can certainly use any type of poultry seasoning you like. And the reason that I like using this particular blend with the Herbes de Provence is because it gives the turkey a nice, both turkeys in this case, a nice rotisserie turkey appearance and flavor. Now just a little tip, if you've bought these turkeys frozen, you're going to want to put them in your refrigerator about 3 days before you're ready to cook them, because that's about the time it'll take for them to defrost. These 12-pound turkeys are going to take about 3 hours to cook, and then you're going to want to let them rest about 20 to 30 minutes covered before you carve them. So keep that in mind based on what time you want to serve dinner. In preparing these chickens to get ready to roast them, we have a couple of options as to what we do with the wingtips. We can either cut them off and add them along with the necks and whatnot when we make the broth to make the gravy, or we can just tuck them under, giving the turkey a little bit of a trussing. And I generally like to tuck them under, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is take some of my seasoning mix and put it into the cavity of each turkey. So I've just got a generous handful here, and all I'm going to do is just lift this up and dunk that right in there and just get in and move it around. Not for the squeamish, but that's okay, just get to work. Well, now we're going to get ready to finish the prepping to get them roasting. And I'm going to show you some options as to what you can do depending on what type of roasting pan you have. Now you may have a roasting pan like this, which is great, and you just put your 2 turkeys in here, one facing in one direction, one facing the other, the way I have them down on the baking sheet there, and that's a wonderful option, sorry about that, wonderful option for roasting them. Now, if you don't have a roasting pan and all you might have is a baking sheet like what I've got them here resting on right now, you can use this too. And all you want to do is lift them up off the baking sheet by putting the aromatics underneath, the carrots, the celery, and the onions, to kind of lift them off so that they're not sitting in their juices but roasting on top of something, basically a homemade rack out of vegetables. So what I'm going to do today, since I think in many cases beginners, which this is perfect for, might just have the baking sheet and not the big roasting pan, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roast them right here on the baking sheet. Now all I'm going to do is take these aromatics, these different vegetables that I cut up, and we're just going to make a little rack that we'll rest the turkeys on. Well, my turkeys are all set, propped up on the vegetables, and now I'm going to tie the legs together and then we'll baste them with the butter and finish the seasoning. Well, I've washed my hands and now I'm just getting a little twine here and just put this to the side. And I'm going to show you, I'm just going to tie up the legs like this. Now I am not putting anything in the cavities, just that wonderful seasoning with the herbes de Provence. I'm not going to put in any oranges or onions or anything like that. And the reason is, now you're welcome to do that, but it will take a little longer to cook. An unstuffed turkey will take less time to cook. And sometimes I think it's just easier, especially if you're a beginner. You don't have to worry about pulling anything out of the cavity when you get ready to carve it up. Well, I've got my melted butter here and my little pastry brush. And now I'm just going to baste this with all of this butter. Do both turkeys, and then we'll put the seasoning on. Well, they're both basted with butter, and now I'm going to be sprinkling on all of this wonderful seasoning that's just going to make the skin luscious. Well, I've got the seasoning all over these turkeys, and they just have this glorious rotisserie look. I absolutely love this. Now I'm going to put them in a 325-degree oven that I've preheated, and they're going to cook for about 3 hours. Now what I recommend is take a peek at them every 30 minutes just to see how they're browning. And if they look like they're browning too quickly, then what you'll want to do is take a little bit of aluminum foil, just a sheet of aluminum foil, and just make a little tent to just tent them on top to allow them to continue to cook but not over brown. And then at about the 3-hour mark, we'll check them with our thermometer by inserting it down below here in the thigh, away from the bone, and we'll see if it's registering at 165 degrees Fahrenheit. And some people like to take their chickens too, but their turkeys as well, to 185 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's up to you. Alrighty, well, in the oven they go. I've got my workout today. Well, I took these out of the oven, checked them for doneness. They were perfect. So I covered them with aluminum foil and let them rest for 30 minutes, just loosely with aluminum foil. And now that they've rested 30 minutes, I'm ready to transfer them to the platter and get them ready to serve. The first thing I'm going to do is just cut the string around the legs that I had used just to truss up the legs. And I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to do the same thing over here. And the next thing I'm going to do is use some turkey tongs, not exactly sure what they're called, lifters, turkey lifters, to transfer these to my platter. Now if you don't have these, don't worry. You can also use 2 very large forks and just stick one in the cavity and one in the neck and transfer them over. And onto the platter, the first one goes. Well, I've got them transferred to my platter, and I'm really enjoying looking at them. I don't think anybody's going hungry today with these 2 beautiful turkeys. Alrighty, well, now I'm going to give them a carving. I'm no master carver, so in front of you, I'm just going to take a little slice. But but generally what I'll do is I'll bring them to the table to show the lovely presentation. Then I'll bring them back into the kitchen and carve them up best I can. So let's just take a little taste here. I'm just going to cut a little piece off of the breast here and get this delightful skin and a nice piece of the meat. I love this Herbes de Provence coating. It just gives the turkey such a nice appearance, like the rotisserie chickens you sometimes see at the little French bistros. Alrighty, let me give this a taste and we'll see how it is. Delicious. They're cooked perfectly. The meat is moist, the white meat, which that's important. And the skin is crispy and the herb flavoring, just delightful. I think you're going to really enjoy this. So try cooking 2 turkeys instead of 1 large one. It'll take less time. You'll be able to carve it right up a little easier than trying to maneuver with one of those big 25-pound turkeys. And you'll have 4 legs, 4 wings, you know, 2 breasts, but in essence, you know, the 4 with the half breasts. And you'll have plenty of meat and it'll just be delightful. Now, when everything's eaten and you're left with the bones and some scraps, that's the time you can make turkey bone broth. And you'll want to save all this goodness, all the drippings that came off the turkeys when you cook them on your roasting pan or on a baking sheet like this, and add this in to your bone broth mixture when you begin to cook it. Now, if you haven't made my make-ahead gravy, no problem. You can use some of these drippings to go ahead and make your gravy right now. But I highly recommend making the gravy in advance. It's one less thing to worry about. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you enjoy learning how to cook from scratch, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. And be sure to click on the little notification bell below. That'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to having you join me again right here in my Texas Hill Country kitchen. Love, God bless, and happy Thanksgiving. Before you go, if you like this video, be sure to check out these. I think you'll enjoy them too. And don't forget, subscribe to my channel, click on the little notification bell below. That'll let you know every time I upload a new video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now. Hi, sweet friends. Welcome back to Mary's Nest. Today I'm continuing with my Thanksgiving cooking series. Instead of roasting 1 large turkey, today we're roasting 2 smaller turkeys. Together in the oven, they'll roast in half the time of a large turkey, plus they'll be easier to carve, and we get 4 of everything. And roasting 2 smaller turkeys is a great way for beginners to start. Well, it's 37 degrees here in the Texas Hill Country, and the wind is blowing and it's really chilly for what we're normally used to, but it's the perfect day to roast turkeys. Well, let's go over all the ingredients that I'll be using to roast these turkeys. Well, I've got 2 turkeys here that are each about 12 pounds, and I've removed all their wrapping and removed all the giblets from the cavity. And now remember, when you remove the wrapping, don't wash your turkey off in the sink because it just spreads a lot of germs around. Just remove the wrapping, pat it dry, and put it on whatever plate, or I have them here on a roasting pan just to get them ready to be prepared to put in your roasting pan. Now I'm going to show you, I'm just going to move these